We should probably clip
recently
in the fact that I'm pretty sure you said on this pod how you randomly thought, imagine going on gigs with Kimmer, what would it look like and what would it feel like? And you're actually doing it. I wonder when that is. That would be quite cool.
About trying to align the video, eh?
Read in.
I'm feeling super rough.
Has it been building up over time, or is it?
No, it's bizarre. I think it's just, I don't know. I think it might be because I'm just like going outside, like literally experiencing life. TV on. Oh, failed. Because I think, obviously, going out, traveling, you're crossing paths with more people than ever, right? So it just feels like more intense somehow. But I don't know.
How's the sound on this?
Yeah, good. I'm just going to check my sound settings as well. But, it makes you really appreciate your health when you are good, and then you only realize, oh, crikey, like I need to carry on taking my vitamins and stuff. So I might start up my Huel stuff again.
Oh, nice.
And I'm like maxing out on vitamins anyway.
Is Huel the best stuff you found, or is that just the thing that you've stuck with? Because I know there's a lot of things out there these days. Is it like some company called Greens or something Greens or whatever?
AG1. AG1 is like the equivalent, but I think I've done Huel because the AG1 is more expensive, I think. So I've just done the Huel stuff. But yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things you're kind of like doing it blindly, right? Initially, because you don't really know what you should and shouldn't be taking it. So I'm like, cool, I'll just take all this stuff. Who knows whether or not it's useful or not? But yeah, it's been. I need to get back onto it so I don't get ill, because I've been ill like twice consecutively in a reasonably short amount of time. So I need to change that.
Yeah.
And I also burnt my hand. Like I put milk in a cup, put it in the microwave, put it on for 2 minutes, and then I'm like, la, 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 like, you know, when Homer Simpson has that like wagging tongue thing, like burnt my freaking. It's always like burning your kind of like knuckle edge. You know, like just on the edge of your knuckle. So,
ouch.
Like,
that sounds painful.
Yeah, it is. While you hold onto the cup and then you like put it down. You're like, cool, let's not do that again. So, what did you think of the chat then about the dyslexia app and the keywords and stuff?
Yeah, I thought it was really good. It's something that I have been thinking, because I've noticed we
don't bother with it, basically.
Yeah, we just throw it up and see what happens and see what sticks. And I know from a attention to detail guy, I recognise that we haven't put any effort in on the sort of description and that type of stuff that has been on my brain.
Absolutely.
To be like, could I have access to that to then hopefully relieve you from adding more stuff to your to-do list? Because it's just something that I guess similar to YouTube in the sense of, okay, you don't want to put all the effort all the time because it puts you off. But every now and then you'll have energy to up your game with the thumbnails or with the titles or whatever. So it is sort of a reminder of, actually, by putting a little bit of effort there, you'll actually reap the rewards, rather than you might not necessarily need to do 10 apps and get £1 each. You might be able to get £10 from one app just by doing this thing. So then when you sort of build other apps, hopefully you'll be able to build off that.
Yeah.
Because I'm impressed with all these, was it indie hackers or whatever? They're just building apps like there's no tomorrow. I'm intrigued when the transition will go over to like people. Well, I don't know if it's people building their own apps, or that you can design an app so easily that everyone has their own unique apps. Like, when will it go to that amount of customization? Because at the moment, I still feel like we're at the McDonald's stage, slowly moving over to the Subway stage, if that makes sense. McDonald's, here's a menu of the best things, you go for your usual. But I think as time gets on and people like UI design and realise things don't work, then they flood to the third-party apps that might be more of a Subway of you picking and choosing your salad or your bread of what you like. but it's going cool. I wonder when it gets to then you're going to like the shops, you're going to Aldi, you're going to find exactly what you need for this product or whatever, or if it'll ever transition over to that. Because at the end of the day, we don't design our own like TV or films, but there's a place of YouTube that there's like a lot more. Yeah. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's sometimes all you need to do is do like a 20% effort, right? To have like that max, like 80% reward for the effort. So I agree. We've just like thrown it up there for kind of like output sake or velocity sake. So now having something that is like, actually you could optimize this and get more for your money, like more bang for your buck, makes absolute sense.
Yeah. I think that's the thing. It's like, even though I've been in the world of marketing and stuff, you sort of want to hand over that detail to someone else so you can just jump onto the next idea or the creative plan, because it becomes, I don't know, I guess a bit too, it feels like you're more of an adult when you have to deal with the detail and make sure the keywords are right and make sure the spelling's right. And it's as if you're prepping for an exam rather than you're in like CDT, just making whatever you fancy, whatever's in front of you. And you could do loads of mistakes and it doesn't really matter because no one's going to see it unless you want
fail
people
forward.
To see it.
Yeah, for sure. Oh. Cool. So should we get going?
Let's go. We need one of those
snapper things. Yeah.
Don't be a doorstop. Don't be a doorstop. Don't be a doorstop.
And welcome back to another episode of Doorstop. I'm shortening to Doorstop. Okay, cool. That sounds good. Welcome to another episode of Doorstop. Today I have a cold, so I'm going to be all mopey and bar humbug and sighing and feeling achy, I think, through this episode. So forgive me if I cough into the microphone. I'll try not to.
I'm surprised you didn't do like a sound effect in the background, because I noticed you can't do that on your side.
Trigger the sympathy sounds. So
you should do that just so we know what it actually is like on a pod at some point.
I think I've done it before and it comes in. It comes in super loud.
Deafening.
But yeah. But today it's quite apt that I've got ill, and the topic that I wanted to speak about today was stamina, focus, and recovery. So like earlier in the week, played another gig. It went well. I did have some technical glitches this time because my MacBook wouldn't click the track, but got around it. But just like somebody that does something continuous. So like if you think about people touring, like or sports people, right? Because this is where you'll be able to feed in. Like, how do you? Let's say you have a game in the afternoon. How do you like do a day and then you're ready to be focused at that time that the game is on, rather than, because obviously I drive up, like you kind of like set up, and then by the time you come to your gig, you kind of like have a dip in energy. So how do you do that? And then the second thing is like recovery of if you're doing something consistently. Like we're not doing gigs every day, but let's say we were doing gigs every day. How would you make sure that you had like a good kind of like recovery thing? I thought like, it'd be interesting to hear what you think about sports and if you know of any like other areas.
I think it's always difficult when you want to, is the word compete is probably the best word, or participate in two full-on activities. Because I remember working like 9 to 5 in an office whilst trying to play in National League hockey. And it's that element of you're either fully focused in work, maybe it's my brain as well, or like, let's say you've had a training session on the Thursday, and then you've got a game on Saturday or Sunday, you might be thinking about what you want to do in the game, what you did well or poorly at training, and then how do you change that or manipulate it into performing well on the Saturday. But then obviously your focus is drawn away from work, so it is very difficult to, I guess, difficult for me to isolate my brain, focus on whatever's in front of you. I think it is practicing, which I think I probably learned in more my older years in life, of just grounding yourself, of being present. I think that's the best thing, that you're dealing with whatever's in front of you and leaving the more unknowns up to, in our case, it's God, but obviously for other people it might be the universe or fate or whatever other word that you want to use that basically isn't yourself. So I think it is really hard. I think sometimes it's thinking about it but not thinking about it too much. So how you want to prep, what basically you've got control over. You might want to listen to the tracks beforehand to get you in the mood. You might not want to bother. You might want to have loads of Coca-Cola so you got energy, or you might not want to. And it's literally just a trial and error to find out what your systems are. Because I think, especially as well when you're younger, your youth can override a lot of the time your health, because you have enough energy regardless of if you've gone out clubbing the night before or you've had a game yesterday. You could probably play today. I think the older you get, you're more aware of the running up to the event, but also the running, like the calming down from the event a lot more. So you need that warm up and warm down, whatever that looks like. I find a lot more, but actually you can perform at the same level, if not higher, because you're intentionally taking control of the warm ups and warm downs, cool downs.
Yeah, I think one thing I've noticed is like, and this comes with public speaking as well. Yeah. Sometimes you don't get that moment to like ground yourself, and you have to be like ready to talk. So when I was first doing public speaking, I was like, nobody speak to me, because you have a day of work, you're then going to speak in the evening, right? Nobody speak to me. I need to get my head in the game, and then I'll do a talk, and then I'll be fine afterwards. And then I was like, actually, that doesn't like work. You can't always silo yourself off for a period of time before you do the chat or whatever. And what I thought was cool is like, there was this other leader guy, this church leader that we went abroad to like this event in, I think it was the Netherlands, I think it was, or somewhere. And he was really, really good with like chatting with loads of people, meeting loads of people and being like super in the moment with the conversation. And then all he did like, oh, I'm just going to take 5 minutes before I do my chat. So he like went off, did 5 minutes, and then he came and did his talk. And I was like, oh, that's a kind of like, being able to do that is a cool skill. And then more recently, when I've been doing talks, I don't have the downtime. So like the Nottingham Trent ones, you meet them, you chat to them, chat to your kind of like chaperone or whatever, and then you go straight to the room and then you do your talk. There is no time to like collect your thoughts. So it is a little bit of like trusting. So firstly, you want to do stuff that's not overly, like do it aligned with your like natural skill, right? So if you're telling me stories, it's not going to be hard because you know these stories, you're just telling stories, right? It's your life, it's your experience. But if you were like conveying something else that wasn't your experience, right? So I think it's like always trying to blend something to your experience, or it's like just relying on and like trusting the fact that you have done enough practice.
Yeah.
You know, and trusting that a little bit.
As well, you can sort of ground yourself. Obviously, it's quite difficult when you go to different events, but if you're doing a talk, I'm assuming there's always like a host person that probably has a mini speech of welcome today and da-da-da-da-da, and does a little spiel, and then be like, and now we're going to bring up Dan. If that's right at the start, halfway through something, or right at the end, I guess to some extent it's recognizing, I guess maybe it's a pre-ask. Is this going to be like a 30-second intro, or is this going to be a half an hour intro? Because if it's like that's 30 seconds, then you go, cool, I've got 30 seconds to do a couple of breaths and get in my body and think about what I need to say and then just go. It's that element of you walk out into the pitch, you do a mini team talk. Obviously, some people really listen to it. Some people are daydreaming and some people are focusing on their own game, which is that time to be like, right, you need to focus now. You've done your little warm-up. It might have been a really poor warm-up, it might be really rubbish, it might have been amazing, but it's the time to just collect your thoughts, forget about how tired or stressed or whatever you are, and then you have that calmness, and then you go. But obviously, from a sports point of view, you know exactly when that whistle's going, so it's a lot easier to build up to that point. But obviously, if you're at an event, yes, technically you're already in that mode because you're chatting to people, but I guess if the event / the whistle is the intro to be like, is you standing up to do your bit. So just before that is the team talk, or it is the focus, or it is the collecting of the thoughts or whatever. But it's difficult because obviously you want to be engaging, but maybe it is that is the norm to some extent.
Yeah, I think even with bands and stuff, obviously there's like crossover time, like a changeover time. So you're like putting all your equipment together. So there's a bit like, cool, in this moment, I've got to focus on getting the equipment right. As soon as the equipment's right, you'd be like, cool. Like now let's play the gig. Let's go.
Yeah.
And again, I found that like lots of my experiences previously has helped to kind of like enhance these moments. So it's not as if it's like crazy, but then you have like the other flip of like, you basically are so excited that you like get rough around the edges. So you're so like buzzed that you kind of start to like make little mistakes. One, because like you're almost like too adrenalized, almost like you're too excited for the moment. So you kind of like make little slippy like
have you got an example
mistakes
of that
in the playing. Like basically, because you're drumming, you're not sometimes you're not necessarily doing like super intricate stuff because you're on a stage and typically you'll play simpler things.
Okay.
But sometimes you'll like mess up like simple things because either the stamina is not there and you kind of like have a brain fart and you kind of like you're not like thinking properly and you like mess up, or you'll be so excited that like things just like don't play off as well as you hoped or whatever, because you're a little bit too much like nervous energy almost. So you'll like do a little bit too much maybe, or like slip up on something because you just want to like relax and like sit back in the groove rather than like push a little or whatever it is. Yeah, it is hard to explain, but
I think it's very similar to sports to some extent, because you can have that buzz of either you're playing a team that you used to be a part of, or you're playing a higher team that you want to get into, or you started a new team. You can have that nervous energy, particularly if you, I guess, haven't practiced that situation before, or if you're playing for your country for the first time or whatever. And I think a lot of the time you might have that little bit too energy that you pass the ball a bit too hard or fast in front of people.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the thing. It's literally, you've got to have, I think the difference with, let's say, a sports game, particularly with hockey, let's say you do a bad pass, well, you've got a couple of seconds just to pause and be like, right, make sure the next one is good. That's all I need to focus on. But I guess with drumming, you can't just randomly pause at a song. Well, maybe in some zones, if you know the song well enough and there is a bit of a pause, you could get away with it. But a lot of the time, 80, 90% of the time, you probably can't. So it is going, cool, what is my default if I get something wrong? And maybe it's more practicing cool, I'll go back to the bare minimum. So instead of doing a quick beat, you go back to a simple, just loud or whatever, and then build back up to your level. It's sort of going, instead of being hyperventilating, you're going, cool, how do I just get back to my normal level? And then I can build up to whatever I need to go from there.
Yeah, it is the whole, like, you're passing it too quick. It reminds me of cricket. You know, in cricket, when they you basically have fielders around the sides, and what they do is they pass the ball around the left and they pass the ball around the right, because they want people to have like held the ball or thrown the ball, that they're not coming in cold. So at least then they could, like, cool, they've caught a ball. Similar with football, right? You kind of like want to pass it to a couple of people so they're not coming in cold. So then when they need to do their moment, they've touched the ball and they like are okay, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But with drumming, once the train's left the station, literally there's no coming back. So yeah, you have to like hold it together, as it were. But yeah, it is really fascinating, all these things. That there's you know, the guy from Scream of Citizens, Jake Woodhall. Yeah. So Jake's touring in America right now.
Okay.
And I'd love to message him, because he's been doing little vlogs of how he's been getting on with like the tours and stuff. So he did like a vlog of him in Japan. Now cool. He's touring America with the Foo Fighters. So he's done a couple of gigs. I'm not sure if every gig is with the Foo Fighters. But yeah, he's been playing ahead of the Foo Fighters, which is cool. But I've been wanting to ask him about, like, you know, staying focused, because a lot of the time you'll have your day and then you'll play in the evening, right? So
yeah.
How do you like stay focused and kind of like get yourself distracted, but not too distracted that you're tired then for your like 8 o'clock slot or whatever? And then also, like, what does he do for recovery? Because he is touring maybe he is playing every 2-3 days, probably, like way more like intensely.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'd be really, really interesting to see how that pans out. But,
plus, I think it's that element of what's difficult is if you've got someone that's touring, let's say for argument's sake, he's getting the millions, then his suggestions might be completely different. He might be like, oh, I go to the nicest spa in the area and I get a sports massage because that's what's good for your muscles, especially if you're a drummer. And I think it's going, cool, there's let's say you're earning pounds and you can't afford that sports massage. It's then figuring out, okay, what is the alternative version? It might be like a foam roller or a massage gun, but then it might not quite work the same degree. So it is quite tough finding your remit that works to push that recovery time the best you can. But it's probably doing the basics of sleeping, chilling out, not stressing out the best you can, eating well, drinking well.
Because you're also going
drinking water.
You're also like going and meeting a bunch of people. You're experiencing a bunch of different cultures, like loads of different people. So it's like actually maybe like making sure your immune system is at a good level is probably like the basic thing. Because after that, like everything comes from like feeling nourished, basically, right? Because you might have a bad sleep, or you might like, because obviously if you're traveling or you're in a different bed or whatever. So it's all these intricacies, but I'm really enjoying it. It's just these intricacies of like, these new opportunities to like refine and learn and stuff. So I've
we should probably click in the fact that I'm pretty sure you said on this pod how you randomly thought, imagine going on gigs with Kimmer, what would it look like and what would it feel like? And you're actually doing it. I wonder what that is. That would be quite cool.
We'll have to use AI to search the copy that we've
a lot
said
of videos
stuff
to go through.
Yeah, I think we're coming up to 50 videos now as well, which is pretty intense. But I'm like, that's great because that's the longest ever podcast I've ever done. So
that's cool.
Sure. But yeah, it is like I'm really enjoying it, and I'm really enjoying the variation of like place and things. Obviously, I need to have my moment of focus. Like in the recent one, it happens to be called Focus up in Wrexham. I thought we were on stage 1, where actually we were on stage 2. So I'm like putting my stuff ready to go. I'm like, cool, I'm prepped. And then it turns out we're not in this room, we're in another room. So it's just like funny, like just little things that you do in preparation. And then there's like a surprise, but then you're fine with that surprise and you manage. So yeah, it's like lots of like really good experiences. And I'm really happy with my setup. And at some point I'll have to do like a video of my setup. Because I'm fully in control of my own in-ears, which means I don't have to rely on some sound engineer and all that stuff. And again, that gives me confidence to know I've got what I need to hear to play well. Yeah. So it's good.
I guess that's another thing is, like, when you are slowly making it, you probably just have full control over you. And then when you've made it, you have more control over the event. Because I guess if Beyonce was in the wrong room, well, you probably just move the whole gig if you wanted. To some extent, it's that element of people move for you. So then you don't need to necessarily care for your own individual stuff. But I guess as you're building up, you probably have to hyper focus on, is the equipment easy to carry? What is the bare minimum I need to have? What do I need? Do I need a list of songs? And I guess you become more anal in those specific thoughts,
logistics,
control and logistics on you, because that's the bit that you have full control over until like you're a megastar, and then people want to bend over backwards to make sure you got your blue M&Ms or whatever.
Yeah, and also you have team members and you have like finances to finance somebody to do it. Because I'm the one doing the driving, and we're typically trying to drive in the day. Because like if you drive in the day before and you spend in a hotel, then like that evaporates the money you get from the gig. So it's always trying to find a balance of things in the early stages. And you're right, I'm becoming everything. So I'm conversing with the sound guy because I know my sound setup and I know Kim's sound setup. I'm also like carrying all this stuff. I need to get one of those, those trolleys that they take to festivals with like the big wheels, like the bucket thing. I need to get one of those. Oh, yeah. I've recently bought a drum kit as well. Yeah, a tour bus.
Tour bus.
I've recently bought a drum kit, which is like, it's cool because it's the second drum kit I've ever bought, like ever kind of thing, like acoustic drum kit. And it's nice and green. And then I've paid for a custom skin with the words Kimmer Otung on it. So that'll be cool because that's like the first time ever that I've done something like that.
That's cool.
So yeah, now it's like, cool, got to get bags for it, got to get a thing. Like one little trick is you get a mat for the drum kit to stay on so it doesn't slip around. And you can put like color tape where the stands are and stuff. Because another thing I realized, like when you're playing, like at song 3, there's a particular like groove that I'm playing that I need like a decent gap between my hi-hat and snare. Because if I don't, then I kind of like miss the snare.
Okay.
Or like do a duff hit. But I never practice that song. Sorry, I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me. I never practice that song before we play. So I'm like, it comes to the 3rd song and I kind of mess it up and I'm like, I should have done this stuff. So I'm like, cool. When we do line checks, I should play that groove to make sure that the equipment is in the right place.
Yeah.
And it'll be better when it's my own stuff. But obviously you're playing other people's kits predominantly. But I need to like not start until I've done those things. And there's plenty of time to do it because you've got like 20 minutes. Like do that thing. Then I can feel like adjust it if I need to adjust it. And then I'm like, cool. Song 3 doesn't give me a problem now because I'm like, I can play it and it doesn't like, I don't get caught. It's like my hi-hat and snare is too close or whatever. But yeah, it's interesting. I'm really enjoying the experience of like variation of places and people and stuff. So
that's cool.
It's good fun.
That is good fun. Yeah, we'll have to have
I just need to keep on practicing.
Have some footage of the you drumming in the pod. Some footage that we took, which would be quite cool.
Oh yeah, we can put in some portrait one and we'll just blur the background.
Yeah. Sounds good. So did we cover all your topics? Stamina, recovery,
and focus. Yeah. Any closing thoughts before we wrap up?
I feel like we need to ask questions more at the end to get the comments going, to get Dave Logan commenting on stuff. I guess
Come on, Dave.
What makes you focus well, or what hinders your focus? Keep the questions short and sweet, I guess. You don't want to ask him too many questions. So what makes you focus well, and what distracts you? I guess that's the opposite of focus.
And on that note, keep hammering those nails. Bye for now.